Hi, my name is Dennis Deloach, and I'm the host of the Uncle Jim Effect podcast. And welcome to episode number 8. And we're going to talk today about focusing on the process, but mainly we're going to talk about the ability to focus actually determines what type of outcome we have. So before we get started, I'm really excited about today. This topic can apply in every area of your life and is so critical to bridge the gap between what it is we want in life and what it is we achieve in life. And so before we get started, if you would, and thank you so much. We've had such tremendous response to this podcast. It's exciting. And I'm really excited to keep moving forward. But would you please hit the subscribe button and leave any comments you'd like. And you can also reach me by email. And I love getting your comments, questions, and anything like that. But that will be through deloachpodcast@gmail.com. That's DELOACH podcast@gmail.com. So again, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Let's get started. So today we're going to talk about focus. And I'm going to start with a quote that kind of talks a little bit about really the two areas of focusing that I guess I want to focus on today. But there's two main concepts to being effective at being able to focus or to achieve goals. And one of them is that it does not, uh, our ability to succeed is not determined by talent or genius, right? And then also, it's not about the end result or the goal. If we focus on that, we usually don't achieve it. And we're going to talk a little bit about what we mean there. But let's start with two quotes that kind of deal with that. This first quote is from Robert Greene, and he's a contributor to the book 10X is Easier Than 2X. And we've talked about that book several times. I would highly recommend you get that and read it. And it literally talks about setting an astronomically out of sight huge goal is actually easier to achieve than setting one just barely better than where you're at now. And we'll talk about that a little bit, but basically it has to do with if you set it just a little bit about where you're from now, then you think, well, I've got enough to do. I just need to do more or be busier instead of really thinking outside the box and saying, I'm going to go to this level. I know I can't do that. So I have to bring in help and I have to think different because that's something totally different. But this first quote says, mastery is not a function of genius or talent. It is a function of time and intense focus applied to a particular field of knowledge. It's a function of time and intense focus applied to a particular field of knowledge. We're going to talk about that. And the second quote is from Deepak Chopra, a very famous person who is very, very good at talking about thought and how do we achieve goals in life. And he says, if you focus on success, you will have stress. But if you focus and pursue excellence, success will be guaranteed. Isn't that interesting? If we focus on the end goal, we will have stress. Isn't that what we've been taught our whole life? If you want to lose weight, if you want to improve your finances, if you want to accomplish something in your health, if you're an athlete and you want to achieve more, we've always been taught focus on that end goal. Well, what he says here is if we do that, we have stress. Why? Because we're always thinking about that goal that's way far away instead of focusing on pursuing excellence, which means for me to pursue excellence to get to that goal, every day I've got to do a certain number of things. So I focus on pursuing excellence, which is today getting up and doing those things I need to, not focusing on where I'll be in 6 months or a year. So I love that. And I like, as I always do, I like to start each of these with a definition. And so I like to go and check the dictionary when I think there's any question about what a word means. And the word I want to talk about is focus. So I want to go back to the dictionary and see what it says. And it has three interesting components to the word focus and the meaning of it. So we're going to talk today about 3 areas on how we can master the focus in our lives and increase the success we have in achieving goals and the results we want. So the center of attention, interest, and activity is the definition we're going to use that comes out of the dictionary for focus. Again, focus is the center of attention, interest, and activity. Those 3 things. Let's start with number 1, and that is attention. Attention to me is if we're going to have the center of attention in our life, in the concept of focusing, for it to be the center of attention in our life, that to me means awareness. We have to be aware of this goal. That means we have to have thought about it. We need to have written it down, and we need to make it a daily practice of being aware of this goal. We don't set the goal on New Year's Day and next year on New Year's Day say, dang it, I didn't get that. For example, I've got this journal that I use every day for doing everything, and I've got mine right on the inside cover. Oop, right here. I've got mine on the inside cover, and every day I review that. And it's got the 5 areas in my life that a mentor taught me to focus on. And I've got specific goals that are 10x goals. And every day I look at those and I read, and they're I am statements. And so I'm assuming that I'm already in that position. And so the first part of focus, again, is attention. And the word I'm going to use there is the awareness, or the ability to know what our goals are. But that's to start, right? But every day I have to focus or have an awareness on the goals that I've set, and I've got to look at them. I've got to be aware. It's got to be the center of focus, center of my attention, right? We have to have discipline to have daily awareness. It has to be something we actively think about. So when we focus is not a lazy man's game. Focus takes energy, it takes consistency, and it takes action, right? But right now we're talking about attention and awareness. Creating awareness in life, like I said, is an active, disciplined thought process. But a big part of that is not so much what we do in life as we start to focus. To me, when we think about focus, we think about a laser beam, and a laser beam focuses down until it's at its smallest, most powerful size, right? And that's a narrow focus. And so as we do that in life, it's more important that we look at what we're eliminating from things that we're doing or that occupies our time than it is probably on things that we need to do, right? Because it seems like those things that take our time, that take us away from the focus, that take us away from the process, are those things that the world throws at us every day, and we cannot help those. They're all in our life. You know, we all have great plans until the day starts, and then things come our way. We need to make a concerted effort to have an awareness and to have attention on specifically what it is we do. And if there are things, people, items, habits, hobbies that get in our way, we need to absolutely eliminate those things. So I'm going to finish the attention part of focus, which is number 1. I want to finish that with a goal, and this is by the famous martial artist Bruce Lee. And it just so happens that one of the best friends I have in this whole world is Bruce Lee. Not that Bruce Lee, but the more important Bruce Lee to me. But shout out to Bruce. But this is the karate Bruce Lee. And he says it's not the daily increase, but daily decrease that we must hack away at to be successful. So think about that. Here's one of the most famous martial artists of all time, which is an art known to, you must have a lot of discipline. And his thought was, it's not so much what I learn, it's what I have to take away from my focus to get me down to that most important part. So again, the first part of focus we're talking about now is attention. And the second part we talked about on that definition, the center of attention, interest, and activity. We're going to talk about interest now. And interest the definition of that is the state of wanting to know or learn about something or someone. Wanting to know or learn about something or someone. So we know that we have attention to focus, but now we have to have a desire to know or learn about exactly what it is we're doing. So we need to know that we have to have a process. So we have attention, we're aware of what we need to do, and we have to have a desire or an interest to get deeper into what we're doing here. And so some of the other words that I thought of that came to my mind when we're talking about interest would be desire, energy, excitement, being positive, having hope. Those are all characteristics of focus. And so this focus word is a multidimensional word. And as we break it down, again, it is a very, very critical component of achieving the results and goals we want in life. So we really got to spend some time on it. It's easy to say, I'm going to focus on this. We don't even know what focus means a lot. And so we're talking about that. Again, the second part of focus is this interest. To be able to focus and have interest in this goal, it has to be an exciting, scary, out there goal or a 10x goal, like we've talked about. If my goal is to lose 2 pounds, okay, that's probably not going to excite most people. And if it does excite you, then you're in pretty good shape. So we have to have a goal that is absolutely scary, that our first thought is there's no way I can do it. And then we have to, that type of goal, believe me, it gets your attention. The goals I have in my book here got my attention. And I'm guessing they would get your attention if you saw them. But that's how we have an interest or a desire and energy and excitement, being positive about a goal, is to have one that excites us. This goal, to have an interest, not only has it got to be exciting, but it has to absolutely line up with the purpose in our life. Meaning, what is it that I want most of all out of life? If I could move a magic wand, what is it that I could create my life like? That's the purpose. What am I here for? What is it I want most to do? That goal, our 10x goal that we focus on, has got to create that excitement. And as long as it is in line with our purpose and the vision we have in our life, it will create an excitement in us that will allow us to have an interest as we have our attention focusing on this goal. Let me share a quote again, and I love quotes. For me, they really resonate. They kind of take a concept and cement it into me. So I hope you like quotes as well, because I love these. And this is from Tony Robbins. And he says, most people have no idea of the giant capacity we can immediately command when we focus all of our resources on mastering a single area of our lives. When we focus all of our resources on mastering a single area of our lives. And I like how he started that. We have no idea of the giant capacity we can immediately have when we just take all of this energy and talent and ability we have and focus it and create it down into a goal that we are aware of, that we have an interest in, that we're excited, that scares us, it's huge. And then the third step on this definition of focus is the center of attention, interest, and activity. So the third step on focus is activity. We knew we were going to have to get to that. Have you ever been guilty? I have. Have you ever been guilty of paralysis by analysis or thinking something to death? I've had certain areas in my life where I've spent so much time planning that and trying to make it perfect that I absolutely got worn out and never got around to doing one thing towards that goal. If you haven't, then congratulations. But this is where we're talking about activity. It is better to do something. And the prime example to me was this podcast. I'd wanted to do one for a long time. And one day I said, you know what? You're basically a fraud. You've talked about it, you're doing it. What's holding you back? And so I literally put my camera on. And if you go back to the first episode, I literally say, here we go. I hit the button. I gave myself about 10 or 15 minutes and said, okay, well, can't embarrass yourself, so you got to plan something. But I set a timer when it hit, I believe it was 15 minutes. When it hit 15 minutes, I hit record. And so I don't know that I would encourage you to do that in life, but we have to have activity. We must act daily and consistently with a focus on these goals. And if we take all the energy we have and we focus into one area of our life, now that doesn't mean you can only focus on making money and become not healthy and have no relationships. But I think when we focus all of our energy, what we need to do is say, at this time, maybe first thing in the morning, as an example, I'm going to focus all my energy at 5 o'clock on the health and well being of my physical body. And that might be a way of saying that. And then between 8 and 5, or whatever that might be for you, I'm going to focus all my energy on creating a business or creating wealth. And I'm going to spend all of this time on the relationships in my life. So we need to have activity. We create a tremendous amount of capacity when we command the focus in our life and do it in one area specifically. So that doesn't mean I can only work on one thing at a time. I only work on one thing at a time. I focus and I move on to the next one and I focus, right? So a couple of quotes here. Again, that on the activity part, we have to focus on the process. And by the process, I mean, what is the daily steps we do that when added up day after day after day, week after week after week, month after month after month, at the end of that, I hit this big 10x goal that I've 10x my business. I've 10x my weight loss. I've 10x my performance as an athlete or a mother or a father. I've 10x the relationships in my life. I've 10x my ability to speak a foreign language. Anything and everything you can think about, that comes from the daily process of focusing in on what we need to do. That's how you become successful. Pablo Picasso said this: action is the foundational key to all success. So we can think about it, and that's absolutely a critical component of having a 10x goals. You have to put it in your mind, you have to envision it, you have to believe it's possible, but you have to take action. You have to have activity. We can't dream all day. We have to wake up and get after it, right? No matter what we're doing, we have to get after it. And then Confucius said this, and I love this part, and I like this kind of summarizing all of this focus concept. Confucius says this because let's talk about this when we're done, but when it is obvious the goals cannot be reached, when it is obvious the goals cannot be reached, don't adjust the goals, adjust the action steps. I love that. So when I set a 10x goal and I'm getting there and it's obvious I'm not going to reach that, do we say, see, I knew I shouldn't have done it. That guy's an idiot. 10x, I should have 1.1x it. No, absolutely not. That just means you have the wrong action steps. Step back, talk to your mentor, talk to somebody, get back on track and adjust the action steps. Do not adjust the goal, right? So I love that concept. So many of us say, I'm going to lose 100 pounds. Nope, can't do it. No, well, adjust the steps you're taking to do that. So let's talk about some examples of that. But let me recap first of all. So we're talking about focus, and we determined that the definition of focus was a center of attention, interest, and activity. Those three things we're going to focus on today, on how we can improve our focus. And the attention part, the first part, was our awareness. We have to actually write a goal. We have to think about it. We have to have discipline to daily be aware. I showed you where I wrote mine down. Every morning I got to read that. I got to focus on it. I got to think about it. So I have to have an attention or an awareness of that. The second part was interest or excitement, positivity. This has to be a large 10x goal. It's got to be scary. It's got to be so far out there that I really don't think I can do it, right? And if I've got that, then it's exciting. It must be a 10x goal for me to have the interest, and it must align with the purpose I have in my life for me to get excited about it. And then finally, the third step of that focus is activity. We must act daily to make things happen. And that is the foundational key to all success. Action is something we have to do. And it's obvious we're not going to reach our goal, don't change the goal, change the steps you're doing to get to that goal, or focus more on the steps to get to that goal. Or if something's not working, adjust it. And I love that. That's why my background is in football. I played football in high school. I played at a high level in college. I've coached high school football successfully for 20 years. My sons have played, and now I'm actually getting the opportunity to coach my grandson next year. But I love football because all of us have a game plan, and we come into that game, and the first thing we do is we have to adapt or adjust because the opponent or life isn't going to sit there and let you have your way with them. They're going to adjust, throw you curveballs. They got a game plan of their own. So I love that when it says we need to adjust, right? Adjust the action steps. So football to me is a tremendous example, or any sport you have. Whenever we have a game plan, we come into a game. The one thing I absolutely know is that game plan is going to change. It's just whether it's on the second play or the 30th play. It doesn't matter. It's going to change. So in life, same thing. Have a tremendous game plan, but just know, hey, I've got a game plan to get up. I'm going to run 5 in the morning. It's great. But tomorrow when I wake up, it's pouring rain. So what? Don't adjust the goal. Adjust the action steps. So changing that might mean put on a raincoat. Quit complaining. Go out and get it done. Maybe you'll have a lot of fun. Another example to me is in business. And I've shared with you before this example. I'm a dentist by trade, and I own several practices. I was a CEO of our dental group, and I found out that the most success I could have and the most direct impact I could have on the bottom line and the 30 or 40 people that work for me was to focus on what I needed to do as the CEO and spend about 10% of the time on the issues that were there and about 90% of the time on what I could do as a CEO to overcome those issues, right? I didn't blame somebody. I didn't say, well, they're not doing their job. I looked at the issues quickly and spent a lot of time on how is it that I can improve as a CEO to then affect an impact on the company. And again, that's just focusing on those things that are important. We talked about losing weight. I mean, that to me is the easiest example. I want to say we want to lose 100 pounds. Okay. Well, if I focus on that goal, I'm going to have stress. But if I focus on, hey, today I just got to walk, I got to walk 2 blocks and then I got to eat a little less. I got to move more and eat a little less, right? That's all today. And I got to track that. So I'm going to say, I'm going to do 1,000 steps. Well, tomorrow I'm going to do 1,200 steps, and I'm going to continue to eat a certain number of calories. So focus on the process or the things I can do today, not on the end goal or the result. Another example is relationships. I think it's really an area of our lives that we seems to take the biggest hit. We're so busy making a living, and we're so busy getting in shape, and so busy doing these things and that we really, at least in my life, I profess that my relationships are the most important thing in my life. Unfortunately, my calendar and my activities didn't reflect that. We talked in a previous podcast about being intentional, that what we say is important to us. You should be able to look at a calendar and say, yeah, that's important to him because look at all the things he's doing. And in my life, a lot of times it has not been important. I've been a hypocrite. I've said, oh, my family and those relationships are the most important. And you look at my calendar and I was doing nothing. I'm better than I was. I still got a lot of room for improvement, but that's an area of life you've got to get focused on, right? You got to get focused. So again, today, this tool of focusing on the process, we talked about basically 3 components of being able to focus. The definition of focus was the center of attention, interest, and activity. Attention is the awareness we have of the goal. It's got to be written down. We got to be aware of it every day. We got to focus on it, but I have to be aware. We have to have an interest in it, which means an excitement. It's got to be a 10x goal. It's got to be out of reach. It's got to be massive. It's got to be in line with the purpose or vision I have in my life, what it is that's important to me. And then finally, we have to have activity. No matter what we plan, no matter what we think, we got to get off our rear ends, off the couch, and we got to get out and get going. We talked about different examples, whether it's business, health, sports, coaching, being a mom, being a dad, being a friend. All of those things are so critical to all we do, and we need to focus. And the nice thing about focus is it is a characteristic or a talent that we can develop right now. We can start focusing now, not tomorrow. We can focus now. We can shut off the phone. We can close the door, turn off the music, and sit there and determine what it is you want. I challenge you to do that. We're about to hit December, and I would challenge you to make this a month of focus, focus on how tremendously blessed we are at this time of life and living in this great country, how blessed we are to have our health, how blessed we are to have whatever it is that we do in the way of family or relationships, how blessed we are to have the job or the employment or the resources we have. And if you have ever seen somebody who has less than you do, which in all of our cases is true, then let's focus the rest of this month on the tremendous feelings we have and our ability to share with those that don't have as much as we do. That's your example. Also, create the goals you want, make it 10x, get those things, get them written down, and develop your focus game plan and get after it. Thanks again. This podcast is growing so fast. I think we've had over 150,000 views. We've got well over 2,000 subscribers, and I just am so grateful and blessed to you. Please share with your friends and family. I promise you, as we work together and create this tsunami of hope, it's going to benefit not only you and I, but it's going to benefit our neighbor and these people and friends that we have that we don't even know need to hear this to bless their lives. So again, reach out to us, deloachpodcast@gmail.com. Hit the subscribe button, like the podcast, leave your comments, and God bless. And I hope all is well, and enjoy the season. We'll see you on Friday. Thank you so much.